What does it mean for you to be rich? Because if you want to be something, isn't it good to know what the it is you want to be? Have you ever considered that? What does it really mean to be a rich individual? If you think about it, all of those things that maybe you've been brought up and been wanting to have, that you're like, I'll be rich when, I'll be rich if, I'll be rich eventually. You didn't come into this world with those. At some point, they were put upon you. If you only go halfway, you're not going to get what's possible if you go all the way. You can't half-ass it. You got to do at least the bare minimum. You can always do more. If you do it, you're going to get something amazing in return. You're going to get a taste of that richness that you want to feel, and that not only that you want to feel, but you want to share with the rest of the world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to get rich in a day or less. So you're really going to want to enjoy this episode. And especially, I am recording this from New Zealand. I'm in a little coastal city near the Renata Beach, just northwest of Wellington. So I'm on the west coast of the North Island here in New Zealand. Just got done with a beautiful retreat for an entire week. It was incredibly intense, very, very transformative. Really loved it, and really excited to take these changes out to you, my listeners, and the subscribers to my YouTube and my social media. Which reminds me, make sure you're subscribed, Justin Wink, Ph.D, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Instagram. And there you can, get the latest updates of, where I've been, what I'm up to, and, be notified when these podcasts come out. And remember to like and subscribe to the podcast, and maybe let a friend, so that maybe you don't want to be all alone and be rich. Maybe you want a rich friend to enjoy with. So let's share the show, right? So what does it mean for you to be rich, right? Because if you want to be something, isn't it good to know what the fuck it is you want to be? Have you ever considered that? What does it really mean to be a rich individual? Often we think it's a lot of these external things, like, driving a really fancy car, like a Jaguar or a Model X Tesla, right? Or having a Louis Vuitton handbag. Or maybe it's being rich in relationships and, having that loved one that'll marry and be with you till you die. And then they just have to mourn your loss until they eventually die, right? Or whatever it is. Maybe a certain number in the bank account. Yeah, have you ever considered that when you were born, you were just a wee little babe, a little goo surrounding some little baby bones and whatnot that had just come out of your mother? Do you think those were your definitions of leading a rich life? Do you think that, even before you had words, there were images or feelings of what it's like to be driving in a super fancy $100,000 vehicle with I don't know, Manolo Blahnik shoes that you're wearing? And I almost don't even know what's a Rolex watch. So you think that's what you as a baby was really imagining when it was, oh, I can't wait to be here and live this rich life? Or was it maybe there's more thoughts of, oh, I can't wait to do something a little different in this world? Because if you think about it, all of those things that maybe you've been brought up and been wanting to have, that you're like, I'll be rich when, I'll be rich if, I'll be rich eventually. You didn't come into this world with those. At some point, they were put upon you. Like your parents might have gone like, oh, it's our little one. They're going to grow up and they're going to have the most amazing spouse, and they're going to be with them forever till one of them dies. And they're going to live in a really large house. They're going to have 2 kids and a dog and half a cat, and they're going to be eating foie gras and filet mignon, and they're going to be traveling to the Hamptons in the summers. Or maybe it came from your peer group where you went to school, or maybe it came just from watching TV. And where do you think that came from? That came from whoever those people grew up with and whatever they watched or listened to or however they were influenced. Yeah, have you ever sort of noticed that as times go, things change? Where do you think this change come from? The change comes from that when we get here, we have our own unique wants, our own unique desires that when we sit with them, when we fulfill them, they're going to allow us to have that rich feeling. Yet, how are you ever going to actually indulge that feeling and actually feel like you're fucking rich if you are spending all of your time striving to do these things that make other people feel rich, or they think that they'll feel rich and you now think that'll make you feel rich? And so if you're wanting to feel rich, and you might be going like, Justin, rich in one day, what the fuck? Like, I've talked to my financial advisor and they're like, it's all about compounding over decades of time. You keep putting in and little by little compounding, and then one day you're rich. And again, this has to go back to, what is your definition of rich? Because if your definition is just a number in the bank account, then possibly. Yet, as someone who's reached many milestones of numbers in the bank account and many milestones of having, relationship goals checked and achieved, and having lots of, worldly goods, lots of travel, I've had those, and I can honestly say that I didn't feel rich. Yet there's ways that I feel rich now that require none of that. And you're like, okay, well, not to say that you can't have any of those things or enjoy those things. It really is, from which side are you coming from? Because you can make all the money in the world. And I really do sometimes believe that about some of these billionaires and whatnot that do make, it's something like there's like 100 people have like 30 or 40% of all of the wealth in the entire world. And I truly do believe that many of these individuals, they still feel more impoverished than some people that can't even put food on their plate. So they, even with all of their immense worldly possessions, all of the money, all of the power, they are more poor than most of the people in this world. And the more you earn, the more you do, the more you attain will also lead you to that same feeling of poverty, unless you truly do what I'm about to suggest to you to truly become rich. And it doesn't have to take more than a day. And it can even take less than that. Yet it can be a little bit more disciplined and take a little bit more effort if you're going to do it even in less than a day. And I recently experienced this just today, because coming off of the retreat, it ended yesterday. I didn't even know where I was going to stay, so I had to find a place to stay and was able to get a ride. And I showed up at this place, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm recording this from the living room. There's a kitchen, and then upstairs there's 2 bedrooms. I'm the only one staying here. I was just like, this is in my budget where I want to stay. It's near the beach. I was walking the beach today, but I was exhausted, and I'm like, and everybody's like, well, you should go to the island across the way and go see the kiwis, which is a flightless bird. The legend of the kiwi is that the forest in New Zealand said, who would give up their wings to come be with me on the land? And the kiwi said, I will. I haven't seen a kiwi yet. We'll see. So, but people are like, you should do this, do that, do the other thing, whatever. And I get here, I get unpacked, I get some dinner, and I'm just like, I just want to sleep, and I don't want to set an alarm, and I don't want to have to do anything. And I went to bed around 10:30, 11 p.m. and I didn't get out of bed until 2 p.m. So I think that's what is like about 15 hours of sleeping. And then I just felt compelled to do qigong a couple of times. And then eventually at some point I was like, now I want to just go walk to the beach. But I had no plan for the day. I had nothing I wanted to do, nothing I had to do, nothing I thought I should be doing. And I felt so incredibly rich, so incredibly abundant. And so you might be going like, okay, Justin, this is great for you that you had this delightful little day of being completely fucking lazy and worthless. Ah, see, it's that voice, that judgment is what keeps you from being rich. Because to me, one of the things that allows me to feel rich is that I can do what I truly want when I want without having to answer to someone or have to live out somebody else's desires or follow somebody else's dreams. That judgment of to sleep for 15, 16 hours and call that lazy. Whereas the way I see it is, I allowed my body to be fully rested to do what it required after putting in an intense week of effort working on basically the retreat was about learning to be fully here as a human being. And it's not necessarily an easy task and required a lot of energy. So then to give that gift to my body and then to allow it to kind of go, oh, now we want to do the Qigong practice. And not once, but twice was so awesome. And then to go to the beach that I've never been to, dip my toes in waters completely on the other side of the world from where I'm from, and to just be able to sit and let the sun soak in, which is so much brighter here because in the southern hemisphere, it's spring, there's flowers, and then wander through a park. And I'm going to be telling you how you can do this, like very, very concretely, because I'm very experienced at this. So I'm not going to suggest you do it the way that I did it today. I want to make this really simple, very clear, very concrete. And saw Santa Claus in the park, where there's the grass is out, it's green, the trees, the sun's shining, and flowers, and the birds are singing. So just wild to experience that. So you might be going now, okay, how do you do that? Maybe you're not convinced, and that's okay. You don't have to be convinced. You can continue doing what you've been doing and getting what you've been getting for as long as you want. No judgment from me. I did it for many, many years, and at some point I was like, enough of this shit. And I luckily had some guidance to give me some options of basically how to have this experience. And I've done this many times over and over and over in the past many years. So this is my first time doing this. Oftentimes I have to be pushed and prodded. This time it just naturally unfolded. I'm like, yes, really feeling it. So I'm going to poke at you. I'm going to dare you, challenge you to see what it's like to do what I'm about to introduce to you and see how you feel. Now, there's a good chance that disconnected from your two true dreams, from what you really want to be doing, if you do what I'm going to do, it can bring up some feelings, some emotions that you might cry, you might get angry, you might be frustrated, you might get sad, and you might be like, this is not fucking fun. So you have to make a commitment. You got to commit to what I'm about to offer, because it's one of those things where if you only go halfway, you're not going to get what's possible if you go all the way. At the retreat center, it was really interesting. It was on a very large piece of property, about 36 acres, had a beautiful garden near all of the places where people stayed and where the retreat happened. But then there was also a very large old growth forest. And somebody had said like, oh, it's so wonderful to walk in the forest. Like the birds, they just come up to you so close, and there's just the variety of trees, and it's so peaceful. And so I made an attempt, but I wasn't truly committed. I was just kind of curious. And I couldn't find a way into the forest. The next day I was talking, saying like, I wanted to go to the forest, but I couldn't find a way in. And somebody said like, oh, well, there's this marker, and if you just go towards that marker, eventually a path there's a path there, and you can get your way into the forest. And then you can also just make your way there. And then somebody else was like, hey, I got some they called them, because they have like different words for everything here in New Zealand. Some are British, but then some are uniquely Kiwi, which is what the New Zealanders like to be called, I believe. So they called them gum boots. I was like, what? And they're like, gum boots. I'm like, what? For wet, muddy. And so in the US, that's muck boots, I believe, but they're the rubber galoshes, boots, whatever. So somebody let me borrow them. And I make my way out, and I'm like, I am going in the forest. I'm committed. And I walk towards this marker. And at first I'm just like, there's nothing here. I swear there's nothing. But I keep going because I'm doing this, and I've been told there's a way. There's a way. And then eventually at one point I start to see, because it's overgrown, because it rains a lot and it's spring. And so everything's growing nonstop, growing. So even if there is a path, it can start to disappear in the foliage. But I start to see some mashed down brush, plant material, and I'm like, there is the path. And I'm able to walk in and make it into the forest and go all the way and experience just the quiet and the closeness of birds that really haven't been bothered by people, that are willing to get within a few feet because they don't have any fear, because they have nothing to fear. And it was amazing. And that's what I'm offering to you with this challenge, is you got to go all the way. You can't half-ass it. You got to do at least the bare minimum. You can always do more. And if you do it, you're going to get something amazing. in return. You're gonna get a taste of that richness that you want to feel, and that not only that you want to feel, but you want to share with the rest of the world. That when you were born, there was something where you're like, this is I'm here to feel and do something, and this is going to give you the opportunity to start to get a feel of that. And it's possible you might not get to like what you want, but you might start to get some clarity about what it isn't. Sometimes you realize if you know at least what it isn't, you can start letting that go, and that creates a space for whatever it is to start to show up. Because if you've got a completely full closet, there's no room for a new shirt or a new pair of pants. You just can't put it in there. So this is about clearing out that closet. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is, for at least a minimum of 4 hours, is complete complete disconnection, just to yourself. So that means no phone, no TV, no interacting with other humans. Ideally, you stay in just a single room, and it's 4 hours. You don't need to eat. You can have some water. You can go to the bathroom. For this, I would say avoid journaling, but 4 hours of just you with you and nothing else. Give yourself that gift. And you might be saying, how am I ever going to have the time? And I'm going to ask you, have you ever been sick? Have you ever been ill where you literally couldn't do anything but just fucking be there? So you've made the time before, just it was unconscious. It was made for you because your body at some point said, fucker, we need some time just with ourselves without all of this other bullshit that you signed us up for. So I'm shutting you down. We're going to be sick. You're going to be nasty, mucusy, whatever, but we're going to have some time to our fucking self for once. So yes, you can say you're sick, because chances are if you don't do something like this, you're going to end up sick anyway. So you might as well do it and at least feel healthy while you get to have this experience. And it's just for 4 hours. You can do anything for 4 hours. So I'm not asking you to like go jump in a lake or sit in a hot sauna. Just be in a room completely disconnected. So no phone, no journal, no music, no TV, 4 hours, just you. So you can be sitting, you can be laying, you can be standing, whatever. The idea is to allow yourself to have the richness, the abundance, the privilege to do absolutely nothing, and just allow yourself to just be with you, because you are worth it. You are amazing just on your own. You don't need to be doing anything to be worthwhile. And you can't discover that until you spend some time just being. And a lot of shit can come up, and that's okay. You will have an opportunity to see that that shit passes. And so I'm going to challenge you to that. If you can do that and you want more, I'm going to say contact me and ask, okay, how could I do a little bit more with a little bit more free range so that you could maybe end up at some point having a day like I did with lots of sleep, qigong, whatever. Like, that's very advanced. So don't try to bullshit yourself and think like, I'm ready for that. You're not. You're not. You're not. Do this simple 4 hour practice, like on a weekend or a weeknight, whatever. Like maybe it's like, maybe you usually go to bed at 10, maybe make it 8 p.m. and then till midnight. Like, if you probably won't fall asleep because a lot of shit's going to be coming up, but if you can, if you do fall asleep, you fall asleep, whatever. So I'm really curious. Let me know, are you up for the challenge? Are you willing to be rich in less than a day? Are you? Or are you just wanting to keep living your life of poverty as you struggle and work hard until hopefully someday you'll be there and somebody's like, now you're rich? Not happening. Today is the day, whenever you can make the time, because you're worth it. So follow me, contact me, let me know what you think. Justin Wink, Ph.D. in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I really would like to know, are you up for the challenge of seeing how rich you can feel in less than a day? And if not, what's the resistance? Also let me know. You can also email me, podcast@justinwink.com. And if you're like, oh, Justin, I'm ready for more, then again, contact me and let's figure out, maybe there is something. but I'd like to hear that you've at least done the 4 hours. Because like, if you can't carve out 4 hours just for yourself, how pathetic is that? Let's get real. That's fucking pathetic, right? Like what kind of life are you living, right? Like, seriously, that's sad. It's just sad. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can make this happen, and you can feel amazing. You can feel phenomenal wherever you are, whenever you are, however you are. There's a way. And if you're like, I can't see the way, let's talk. Let's talk. There's always a way. There's always a way. So I'm about to, it's about just a little past 7. The sun sets here in an hour, which is really awesome to be someplace where there's so much sunshine, so much life. Because in California, where I came from, I know it gets dark, I think, around 4:30 p.m. and it's starting to get cold. Now, again, those of you in the Midwest and the East Coast, I know it's even more daunting. That's a choice. I've chosen to be here in New Zealand at this time, and I am going to enjoy the fuck out of it. So I'm going to go to a place that's for dinner, so I can see a sunset if depending on how the clouds are. So I'm going to enjoy that. So I really do want you to enjoy your life, enjoy exploring, enjoy being, and enjoy doing what you truly want. You should be living your ideal life. And again, I am still doing the Ideal Life Accelerators through the end of the year. Those are most Wednesdays at noon Pacific time, which is 3 p.m. Eastern. And if I'm not doing an Ideal Life Accelerator, which is where I give about 10 minutes of sharing some wisdom, and then do a little closed door behind just a very elite group. This elite group is able to go to justinwink.com/ideallifex for accelerator, and they're able to they sign up and they get one of the spots and get a little one-on-one coaching with me. So if you would like that, please sign up. Would love to work with you a little face-to-face, one-on-one via the magic of Zoom. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing Unlocking Your Ideal Life Masterclass. Also, all this free till the end of the year, because I know for many people it's been a very rough, challenging year, and there's a lot of uncertainty moving ahead. And I want to allow you to have some more certainty that you can live an ideal life. So for that one, justinwink.com/ideal life. So it's either unlocking your ideal life or accelerating your ideal life. I want you to be living your ideal life, not my ideal life, not someone else's ideal life, not society's ideal life, your ideal life. So now is the time. So get on it one way or another. And please remember to like, subscribe to this podcast, rate it 5 stars. It really does help. And tell a friend or tell someone you don't like. Just tell somebody. All right. With that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you and good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives.